everyone! This week we're creating a papercut Nativity Shadowbox. The first thing you'll need to do to make this is go to the link in the description where you can download these patterns and print them out. There should be 4 of them. And in the spirit of Christmas, I'm also giving away the SVG file for this project for free. And that's the easiest way to make this, so if you have a cutting machine, go check that out also. Next, I'm going to take these 2 patterns right here, along with this one, and just go ahead and cut those out. So you'll have these 2 side pieces, and I altered the pattern after I filmed this so yours will look slightly different, but they're still labeled side pieces. And then in addition to those, you'll have this bottom piece and these 2 top pieces, and these will all be labeled. Finally, you'll have this front stable piece. So I'm going to take that piece first along with this bottom piece. And in this tutorial, we need to do some assembly before we can use this pattern because it was too large to be printed by a printer. So we're just going to be gluing these 2 together on this tab here. So just use whatever glue you'd like, and then just line it up with that line and glue it in place. So next we're going to add these 2 top pieces. This one will go on the right and this one on the left. So I'm starting with the left one, just put glue on that bottom tab, line them up and press them in place. Now we're repeating this on the right side. So put glue on that bottom tab and then press it in place. Next we're going to add the 2 sides. So I'm starting with this left side first, putting glue along that tab and pressing it in place. Then adding the right side, repeating this process. Okay, so now we've put together the pattern. Now we just need to score the fold lines. Use whatever scoring tool you'd like. I'm using a Cricut scoring stylus. And then I'm just going to take a ruler to keep the lines straight and line them up with each of those black lines and then just score them. So repeat this on all those lines. So once you've scored all of the lines, you can go around and fold on each of them. So just repeat this on all of the sections. And then once you're done with that, just make sure everything lines up, like the 2 side pieces, when you hold them up, they line up. And if they don't, you can move the score lines so they line up better. All of these look good, so we're ready to go. To create the stable, I'm using this gold glitter cardstock paper that's nice and heavy and works well for this. So I'm turning it over so the gold side is facing down. And we're just going to be tracing this pattern onto the paper. So I'm just using a pencil. Make sure that you trace around the whole outside and the inside of the stable. And then once you've done that, take your score tool and go around and score each of these fold lines. Make sure you don't miss any of the tabs or any of these inner areas. So once you've done that, you can remove the pattern from the paper and then cut this out. So I cut it out, and now we just need to cut out this inner part of the stable. For this, I will be using an X-Acto knife and the ruler. So just going around and cutting these straight lines. And then on this bottom one, I'm just going to freehand it. And then remove that piece. So it looks like this. So now we're ready to assemble it. Just go around and fold on each of those fold lines. And now it's ready to glue together. So for this, I'll just be putting hot glue on each of these tabs, and then pressing it against the side. So very simple to put together. So now the stable is assembled and it looks like this. Then I'm just going around and I'm cutting the corners off each of these tabs, and this just makes it easier to put together at the very end. So it looks like this. So the next step is to cut out the rest of the patterns if you haven't already. Some of these you'll need the X-Acto knife for, like these two. It's much easier to cut out these fine details that way. So just go through and cut those out. And then I'm using the X-Acto knife to cut out around the face and things like that. It just makes it easier. And you can, instead of cutting out these patterns separately, print the pattern directly onto the paper you use if it's smaller than 12 by 12. That'll just make this easier and quicker. So once everything is cut out, you should have all of these pieces here. And I'm just going to be tracing all of these onto some white cardstock paper. You want paper that has a little bit of weight, but not too much, and white works really well for this, especially if you're using a light on the inside. So I'm just tracing this back piece onto the white cardstock, and then cutting that out so it looks like this. Next, I'm tracing the Mary and Joseph pattern onto the same white cardstock. And the pattern with the manger. And the star. And then lastly, I'm tracing this piece as well. And just cut all of those out. And I use the X-Acto knife again to cut these pieces out that have the finer details. And then just go through, and anywhere that there's pencil marks, go ahead and erase those. So I have all the pieces and we're ready to put it together. Next, I'm taking some 1/4 inch foam core board, and you can get this at a craft store. And if you don't have access to it, you could probably also use cardboard and paint it white, but it needs to be about 1/4 inch thick. So I'm just going to take this board, and I'll be using the X-Acto knife and a ruler to cut it into a very thin strip. And this is what we'll be using to create dimension within these layers. So I'm just taking this strip, and now I'm going to make it shorter than each of these layer pieces. So just about this tall, and just cut a bunch of those. So I'm taking this layer with Mary and Joseph on it, and this will go in the box first. So I'm taking 2 of these foam core pieces and gluing one on each side, all the way at the edge so it will be hidden. And now we're going to glue this into the stable. So it will just go in the front, put glue on the foam core, press it along the bottom and along the side to line it up, keep it horizontal, put glue on the other side, and glue that in place. So that's what it looks like with the first layer in. And now we're ready to add the second layer, which is the one with the manger on it. And this just will go right behind it. So take the foam core pieces again and put one on each side. But this time we're going to layer 2 of them to create more space between the layers. So just go ahead and add a second one on each side. And then put it into the stable and put glue on one side, line it up with the bottom and the side, and then put glue on the other side. So that's how it looks with 2 layers. Now we're going to add the final and third layer. Put foam core pieces on each side once again. We'll be layering 2 of these. So once the two are attached, we're going to put it inside the stable. Put glue on one side, line it up with the bottom and the side, and then glue the other side. And now all the layers are attached, and this is how it looks. Next, we're going to attach the star to the back. So I'm layering 3 of these foam core pieces on the back of the star. So it looks like this. I'm going to take the back of it and place the front on it just to decide where the star will go. Make sure it's centered. So it looks good right there. So I'm just going to take some glue and glue it in place there. To light the box up, I'll be using these 30 count firefly lights, and I found that white is the best color for this. And then you're just going to want to gather these up so they'll fit within the back of the house nicely. So I just kind of wrap them and gather them so they won't come apart. And then once they're all gathered together, you can fold up the ends to make them less wide. We want this to fit really well in the back of the stable. So you can see here that it's less wide. And it will just go right in the back like this. And then the end of the lights will go through this notch in the back. So just decide how you're going to put it together. I'm going to fold back the tabs on the stable to make it easy to get the back piece in there. So I'm going to start by gluing that bottom tab. So I'm just going to make sure this is all lined up and straight. And the lights are coming out of that notch. Then I'm just going to put hot glue along that bottom tab and then quickly press this in place. So now that is attached, and I'm going to do the tabs at the top next. So just make sure everything's lined up. And then this time I just put some glue on the actual back piece and then press the tab in place. Do this on the other top side piece. Press it in place. And then finally the sides. So once everything is glued together and well attached, that's it! This is how the finished shadow box looks. With the lights off, it looks like this. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this Nativity Shadowbox tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see future videos from my channel, feel free to subscribe, and I hope you have a great day.